部ななみの Windows 7で自作応援コマーシャル。ななみがおすすめする DSP 版 Windows 7。簡単快適早い。自分のパソコンを自作しましょう。これくらいの PC ケースにマザーボード、 CPU、 メモリ、グラフィックボード、ハードディスク、 DVD、 出来上がり。お好みの自作パソコンを皆さんも作っちゃいましょう。スーこわ触って動く。やっぱり楽しい。あ、かわいい。テレビも簡単。画面操作もとっても簡単。あれ、
ななみちゃん、ネジハマってないよ。
またやってしまった。あなたも Windows 7で自作パソコンを楽しもう。
Alright, what is up guys, it's Fyros. So in this video, I'm going to be installing Windows 7 Ultimate on VMware Workstation. And you guys already have an idea why I've just made this video right now. So for those who are still have no idea, Microsoft had finally ended support for Windows 7 and all of its edition yesterday, January 14. And I know it's pretty sad, but you know, a lot of my subscribers right now might have tried or might have already used Windows 7 in the past, or maybe currently actually. And well, I had a lot of memories with Windows 7 actually. Yeah, Windows 7 was released in July 22, 2009, but it was then later released to consumers later on October 22. So in retrospect, I'm going to be installing Windows 7. I'm also going to show you guys a little bit about, you know, about this version of Windows, you know, just to fuel up your nostalgia, because this has been a very old operating system, and you know, similar to Windows XP a few years ago, where we've had a lot of nostalgic memories with that version of Windows. So yeah, pretty cool. But yeah, it's kind of sad that Microsoft is actually has finally ended support for Windows 7. But you know, it's inevitable. We cannot stop it. Microsoft has been doing this kind of tradition for years for previous versions of Windows. Anyways, so let's create a new virtual machine so that we can finally install it. So yeah, there it is. Windows 7. I'm going to be using the 64-bit for this one. So I'll just maybe change this. I don't know. Alright. Now thanks. That'll be I'm not sure with the RAM though. Maybe 2 gigs is fine. I'll just go with the recommended. Yeah, same with that. I don't really care. Alright. So let's insert the ISO disk for Windows 7. So this, I'll be actually installing the Service Pack 1. That's the latest Service Pack for Windows 7. Alright. And let's power it up. So as you can see, it's loading the files. So this is how it looks like when you're installing Windows 7 actually. For those who haven't tried installing or haven't seen any installation process for Windows 7. So yeah, this is your chance to see it. So as you can see, starting Windows, you know, just your typical Windows 7 boot screen or loading screen, whatever you call it. You know, I kind of miss this actually. I haven't seen this loading screen for like years, to be honest. There it is, Windows 7. Obviously English. Install now. Alright, setup is starting. Okay, so here it is. So we can actually choose different editions of Windows 7. We have Windows 7 Home Basic, Home Premium, Professional, and Ultimate. But we'll choose Ultimate for this one, because that's the best edition of Windows 7. So we choose Custom. We're not going to do any upgrade. And that's it. That's basically it. We'll just wait until the whole setup finishes. I mean, the whole installation process, not actually the entire setup for the entire Windows, because we're still gonna do some other stuff after this part. after the installation process. You know, copying the files and then putting them on our hard drive and stuff like that. So while we're waiting, let's talk about the different editions of Windows 7, because it's pretty interesting. So there are different editions of Windows 7, obviously. The most basic or the most lowest or low end edition of Windows 7 is the Windows 7 Starter, and then follows the Home Basic. Then there's the Home Premium. There's Professional, and there's also Ultimate. Then there's also the Enterprise Edition, and it says here that it's targeted to the enterprise segment of the market. So it's sold through volume licensing to companies which have software assurance contract. This is very different compared to the other editions, where basically licensing it is very different compared to the Enterprise Edition, because this is basically for business. This is basically for business and for companies. It is not meant to be used for ordinary home users or even professional users. It has a lot of features. Oh, let's talk about the different features of Windows 7. I mean, the differences between different editions of Windows 7 compared to when it comes to features. So basically, the Windows 7 Starter Edition, which is the most low-end edition of Windows 7, consists of a lot of limitations. One of the main examples, you can only run 3 programs at a time. Meaning, if there are 3 applications running in the background, then you try to open another application, a different application, it will give you a message that says you can't open that. You need to close some windows or close an application to open that up. It's pretty weird, actually. But this is not a new feature. Windows Vista also had a Starter Edition, and it also had that feature. Even Windows XP has a Starter Edition, and, well, it's not very... When it comes to availability, though, the Windows XP Starter is not available in all markets. I think it was only available in South America, and it was also common in South America when that was released. Yeah, it's weird. It's so bizarre. The Starter editions of Windows 7 or Vista or whatever is just very, very, very different compared to others. Actually, I actually tried Windows Starter Edition on my friend's laptop or netbook before. Oh, it's restarting. All right, so let's restart system. Yeah, it's just weird. You know, there's a lot of limitations. You cannot change the desktop background, I guess. I think that is also the case. I forgot because it was a long time ago. All right, so starting Windows. That's pretty cool. Then there's the Home Basic. Home Basic Edition is different to the other editions, or higher. It's very different to other higher end editions of Windows, as you cannot use the Aero feature, or the Air feature is disabled, and it's not by default. You cannot enable it, actually. It's disabled on your is completely disabled. So for those who don't know what Windows Air is, basically it's a pretty cool UI interface feature, which I'll explain later after the installation, so you guys can see it if you're unfamiliar about it. But if for those who already know, yeah, you already know. So yeah, installation is still ongoing. I think it installed the drivers or whatever. Yeah, installing updates and stuff. So I'll be right back once after the installation process is finished, so we can move on to the next part of this setup. All right, we're back, and it says setup will continue after restart. Oh, whatever. It's just gone. But yeah, it says you know, setup will continue after restarting the system. And back at it again with the boot up screen. Ooh, you never seen this before, haven't you? So yeah, setup is checking video performance. Yeah, there it is. There we go. So now we're in the setup Windows part. We're in the OBE part, or out of box experience part. This is the time where we start putting you know, username and product keys and stuff, and passwords. Yeah, I don't need passwords. Okay, so we're now in the product key. So yeah, this is I'm not gonna show you guys product key, obviously, for some reason. So I'll be right back once after I've finished entering the product key. All right, we're back. I just finished entering the product key, and now we're in this part. Of course, Windows 7 is not supported anymore, so why bother? Just ask me later. Don't care about Windows updates. because we're not gonna be updating. We're not gonna be updated anymore. So yeah, there goes the time zone. Obviously, I'm gonna choose the home network because I'm on PC. For a Wi-Fi though, it should be a public. But either way, doesn't really matter. If you really don't care about security, anyways. Alright, so there it is. Finalizing your settings. Cool. Alright, now we're in the welcome screen. Oh man. I've never seen this for a long time. When is the last time I actually checked my laptop? The old one. Man. That laptop was running on Windows 7. It was a long time I haven't opened it. And maybe I'll never open it because I think it's broken. Because it's so old. Anyways. Preparing your desktop. Okay. Oh boy. This might take some time. But yeah, the installation is actually quick. That was maybe at around 13 minutes. The whole installation. From start to finish. It was pretty cool. But if you try installing it on an actual old hardware, it might be around an hour or something. But anyways, we're finally here. But this is not yet the end for the installation, because look at the resolution. It's horrible. We're going to be installing the Vmware Tools since, I'm in VMware, and we need to install a bunch of important drivers for our virtual machine. And looks like I'm going to have to open it up manually. There we go. Alright. Okay, this might take some time. Oh boy. Alright, I'll be right back, guys, once after the entire VMware Tools installation is finished. Alright, we're back. So, we just finished I just finished installing the VMware Tools, so just restarted the virtual machine again. And back at it again with the welcome screen. Yeah. A lot of things going on. Oh, there it is. That beautiful startup sound. Ooh, man, so nostalgic. In fact, I actually missed it so much that I've just recently enabled the, the Windows startup sound on my Windows 10 computer. Every time I open up my Windows 10 computer, it'll have that startup sound, even though it's Windows 10, which by default is not enabled. So, when you turn on your Windows 10 machine, there will be no startup sound, but I enabled it in the settings just because I missed it. I just missed it. Anyways, let's change the resolution before we continue. Because by default, it's right at 1024 by 768. So let's move it there. Yep. And we're good. Now, a while ago, I was talking about the Windows Aero feature, and this is basically it. This is the Windows Aero feature. Now, for those who don't know, the Windows Aero feature is a nice UI that is available on Windows, wherein the window, as you can see right here, has this pretty cool glossy kind of effect, in which, let's say if I open up another window, for example, say this one, and you'll notice that the back of this window is pretty much translucent. You can see the translucent effect behind it. It's not just that window, you can see it in the background of the wallpaper. It's actually a pretty cool effect. When my dad actually installed Windows 7 on my laptop way back then, I actually enjoyed, or I actually kind of like was amazed by this feature. Like, wow, look at that. There's a lot of glass effect and stuff. Wow, I could see the Windows logo right behind the window. It's so cool. Even the start menu has it. That kind of stuff. I was just totally amazed. I was just a kid back then, and I like those kind of stuff. Seeing that kind of features being added, because back then my laptop was running Windows XP and then it was upgraded to Windows 7. It was totally cool to see this feature. But of course, this is not a new feature. Windows Vista actually had this feature. In fact, this Aero feature was added to Windows Vista way back in 2007. Yeah, this is basically it. Windows 7. So if you haven't seen Windows 7 on your computer for a long time, this is it. It's time to get nostalgic, boys. So since this is a fresh install of Windows 7, we don't have a lot of programs. In fact, we don't even have other browsers except Internet Explorer. Man, I miss this. I miss this browser. I remember back then. This was my default browser. This was my browser of choice. I didn't know about Firefox. I didn't know about Chrome. I didn't know about any other browsers except Internet Explorer. This was my only way. I mean, this is the only way. This is the only way to browse the net back then. Seriously, I'm not kidding. This was my main browser before. It's cringe, but Internet Explorer is a bad browser, and I hate to admit it, but it's true. It's a bad browser. And this is Internet Explorer 8. So if we go to about, there is Internet Explorer 8, and its default web pages MSN. Jesus. Let's see if Google is still working in this old browser, because older versions of Internet Explorer does not. Oh boy, it still works. Older versions of Internet Explorer cannot run Google anymore. So if you try entering Google in the address bar, it will just have an error. But here, as you can see, Google is still compatible with Internet Explorer 8, which is surprising. I didn't know this. But as you can see, it uses the older UI or interface. As you can see, the tab here, pretty old school. In fact, I think this was the UI that was used way back then by Google. But different logo. The old serif logo of Google. Those were the times. So yeah, this is pretty cool. It actually still works. Let's try installing Chrome actually. Let's install Chrome. Now, even though Microsoft has ended support for Windows 7, unfortunately, Google still supports Windows 7. Actually, Windows 7. You can still receive updates from Google with newer versions of Chrome, which is surprising. But I think that was also the same case with Windows XP. Like when Microsoft ended support for Windows XP in 2014, a lot of browsers still support Windows XP, even after the end of support. Like for example, Firefox still you can still receive updates from Mozilla Firefox and Windows XP, maybe like a year or two after the end of support. But of course, at the end, Mozilla ended support for Windows XP, so that's sad. But for Windows 7, you can still receive updates. But when it comes to malware and all that kind of stuff, like complete software updates from Microsoft for your Windows 7, you won't receive them anymore. In fact, you won't receive them anytime soon because Microsoft has completely ended support. It's like it cut off the life supply for Windows 7. But yeah, maybe you could still buy Windows 7 with full legit product keys online, like eBay or something. Try it out, see for yourself. I don't know. About Chrome. See if you can still see. Oh yeah, checking for updates. So it says checking for updates. And it might take some time. I don't know. I don't care. So yeah, you can still install Chrome on Windows 7. Awesome. Man, I haven't tried this for a long time. And screw you, Internet Explorer. So now let's talk about the features in Windows 7 that didn't exist in Windows Vista, its predecessor. Basically, these are the features that was added to Windows right after Windows Vista. So one of the main features, of course, is the change in the UI. It's minor, but you can still see the differences. So one of the main difference is the taskbar. You'll notice that the taskbar in Windows 7 is much bigger compared to Windows Vista, which is of course very similar to Windows XP. Now the taskbar has this new feature called pinned programs. So what this means is that programs can be pinned on the taskbar. It's very similar to the quick launch feature on older versions of Windows, but this one is much better and it's much improved. Because you can also do a bunch of other stuff with these pinned programs, like commands and all that stuff. Like for example, media player. Oh, yeah. For example, media player. Like say is right there. You got a bunch of songs, and you can actually control the songs playing. Like go backward or forward, next song, previous song, or play pause. It's pretty cool. Why do I have two Chrome here? There we go. Alright, so Google Chrome is up to date. So Google still supports Windows 7. Awesome. That sucks, Microsoft. Another feature is a new version of Windows Media Player. So if we look at the version, so this is version 12. I think Windows Vista had version 11. I guess. I don't know. I forgot. Version 11 probably. And of course, Windows 7 comes with 3 built-in or pre-installed music. Of course, we all know what these music are. We've played them ever since we've had our first hands on our computer and stuff, or we had our first hands on Windows 7. You open up Windows Media Player and then you see these 3 songs. Man, this is so nostalgic. One of my favorite, of course, is Ninja Tuna. Kalimba, yeah. Oh yeah. Ooh. Ooh. Woo! Look at this, Sleep Away. Man, it's just smooth jazz. And then we got Mayo Flakes in there, which is not something I enjoy, but it's nostalgic. It's so nostalgic. Like, when I'm bored, I don't have any internet connection, I'll just play these songs on my Windows Media Player anytime. Put it on repeat. That's 5 stars. So if you try to compare the UI of MS Paint and on Windows Vista, Paint on Windows Vista, it's completely different. The MS Paint on Windows Vista is just, just the same as XP or Windows 98, Windows 95. In fact, it hasn't been updated since Windows 95. But Microsoft finally made a big change in MS Paint when they released Windows 7. So Microsoft did a pretty much a big revamp when it comes to the UI on all of its Microsoft related applications, like let's say Microsoft Office applications and stuff. And that kind of thing is known as the ribbon. So this ribbon is a pretty nice UI wherein, you have a bunch of tabs here in the top, and then at those tabs you got a bunch of options. So it's pretty much organized based on where tab they are. Like, it's home, that's all the tools and the brushes, and then the view, you can modify the view or make it full screen, that stuff. It's organized. So Microsoft applied this ribbon feature to all of its Microsoft related applications. Well, not all, but those that are familiar ones, like Microsoft Office. You got the ribbon feature on that since Microsoft Office 2010. And then oh wait, not Microsoft Office 2010, but rather 2007. Yeah, Microsoft Office 2007. And then there is Microsoft also changed the WordPad, so now it has that ribbon featured also. So there it is. There's the WordPad. Got a bunch of fonts and stuff, like ribbon, awesome, and you can hide them if you want. I didn't install Microsoft Office because I don't have time. But you guys are going to already have an idea because you have already used or have tried Office 2010 or 2013 or 2007. So yeah, the ribbon feature has been added to Microsoft's application since Windows Vista, but it wasn't until Windows 7 that all of its programs finally had the ribbon feature on the accessories and stuff. Of course, Notepad didn't have any changes. So yeah, I kind of missed this. Oh, and by the way, let's not forget about the gadgets. Windows Vista actually already had gadgets, but it wasn't called gadgets. It was called the Windows sidebar. Yeah, the Windows sidebar, wherein the gadgets are only placed or can only be moved and placed on the side of your screen. But here in Windows 7, you can finally move the gadgets wherever you want. So here's the gadgets, for example, CPU meter, whatever, and then you can just move it wherever you want, and then you can also clip it wherever you want. So unfortunately, since Microsoft has already ended support for Windows 7, the currency and the weather is not available anymore. It just says cannot connect the service, which is sad. So yeah, a lot of nostalgia here, man. I missed this version of Windows, and I know you guys do too. You guys have tried or used Windows 7 on your computer. It's just so nostalgic because this operating system is so old. So I think that's all about it, guys. I've already seen a lot of things here in Windows 7. I'll totally remember, forever remember this version of Windows. This Windows 7 and Windows XP are totally one of the best versions of Windows that Microsoft had. Well, I could say Windows 10 is also good, but a lot of people wouldn't agree on me on that because, sometimes Windows 10 is buggy or full of updates that you just can't, you just can't cancel, all that kind of problems that Windows 10 has or have. But when it comes to Windows 7 XP, these are the versions of Windows where you won't have any problems. Well, except for blue screen of that, of course. That's inevitable, but you won't have those problems where you'll have a bunch of errors and stuff that you have to search online to fix it and that stuff, compared to these versions of Windows XP and Windows 7. In Vista, you'll always get a bunch of errors and stuff. That's problematic, and sometimes it ruins your user experience. That sucks. But when it comes to Windows XP and Windows 7, the reason why a lot of people are having nostalgic trip in this is because it works perfectly. It doesn't always get errors and stuff. It doesn't always messes things that you're doing on your computer, because it's perfect. It's one of the best versions of Windows that ever to exist. I sure hope Microsoft is counting on Windows 10, because that's, because there will never be Windows 11. There will never be another new version of Windows. Microsoft will always stick to Windows 10. That's the last version of Windows anyways. So yeah, that's basically it about Windows 7. A lot of stuff in here. So I'll see you guys in the next video. So yeah, stay tuned, guys. So be sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video. So that, and also of course click the bell and notification so that you guys stay updated. So that's all about it, guys. Thanks for watching.